Okay, we are back with little Minky, who is now 8 months old. Last time I think she was 4 months old, and I said she should have been weaned sometime before that. Well, we have had bouts of weaning, and no matter how many times I have tried to wean her after her getting off of her last bedtime feeding, she just does not eat enough and starts to drop weight. Before I started weaning her, I had her without having this last nighttime feeding. She went for a little over 2 weeks, and she weighed 110 grams when we started, and I kept weighing her to make sure. Every day I would weigh her, and she was losing on average about 1 gram a day. And so periodically during the day I would give her a hand feeding just to try to stop that from happening. And it didn't matter what I did, she continued to drop the weight. And so about a week ago, I started giving her the nighttime feeding again. And she now has averaged putting back on about 1 gram a day. And now she does eat by herself when she's in her cage. You know, or actually on top of her cage. She sleeps in the cage, and that's about it. She eats, and I'm feeding her pellets. I mean, she's got the right foods, and she eats plenty of seeds. Plus, she eats with me. She likes to eat Life cereal with me, and I eat a lot of salads. And we are a vegan household here. That's a fairly recent change, but so she loves to eat salad. She likes onions a lot, and she loves Cheerios, but in the morning I only give her seeds and her pellets to make sure that she's getting the nutrition that she needs. And she seems to be healthy, other than the fact that she just, and it's not like losing weight and she's overweight to begin with. She would literally get very, very frail and no meat on her bones. And so I've decided to go back to hand feeding her this one feeding at night, and I guess we will do that until whenever, because she is 8 months old now, or she was 8 months old. It may be today, the 23rd, and still doing this, which I say is the equivalent to sending a kid off to college, still taking their nighttime bottle. I think that's probably about the human years age equivalent. I don't know. She may only be a teenager, but anyway, I don't know. I mean, if people have any kind of tips about what am I doing wrong, I try giving her a little bit less food every night. I did that for a couple of weeks until I got her down to where she was, only eating just a couple of milliliters before I completely weaned her. And it didn't matter. That's still, I've read everything that I can find about, and the one thing that I can think of that could be a problem is, potentially, is that there are no other birds in the house. I took her from the breeder when she was only 3 weeks old and began hand feeding her. She lost all contact with her parents, which I didn't know at the time was that bad, but it was a circumstance where it had to happen that way anyway. And there wasn't really it wasn't a decision that was made other than because it needed to be. And So I don't know if that plays a role in it, why I just can't get her weaned. Everything I read tells me that as long as she continues to beg, that I should continue to hand feed her. And she does every night. I've always given her this feeding at 8 o'clock, or right around 8 o'clock. Well, every night at about 7:30 she starts begging, and she does have free reign of the house. Her wings have been trimmed. She stays on the top of her cage most of the time. At night she goes to bed. In the morning she gets up, and so she will come into the living room where I am, or at my bedroom, wherever I am, at 7:30 at night, and she gets very aggressive with her begging. She gets in my face and, wants to give me kisses, which is really, I know that's not really kisses, it's her wanting me to feed her. And she gets really aggressive with that, and she will not stop. And it just, or I don't know if it's because maybe she's just spoiled, but I don't even know that I believe that that's something that could happen. I know I have read that she could manipulate me to continuing to feed her by intentionally dropping the weight, kind of like they do when they're fledging. I did read that, and that sounds more like what's in the realm of possibility. She's smart enough to know that if she doesn't eat on her own, that I'm going to continue to feed her like this, which she really does like a lot. She really likes me to feed her, and she prefers, and I think this may be, a social thing. How birds are very social and they like to eat together. She does like to eat with me because I sit right here actually in the same place that I'm feeding her. This is where I sit and eat, and she is on the counter, and I will give her her own plate with a little bit of the same food I'm eating. She doesn't want it off her own plate. She wants to eat off my plate, which is what she always does. And of course I allow her to do that, so I'm sure I'm contributing to it. But again, if anybody has any suggestions of how to complete the weaning of an 8-month-old cockatiel, please. Or if you have, if somebody else has had this same thing and they've continued to, I did read a while back that you would not want to continue to feed a bird this diet solely because they could develop a fatty liver. I did switch from the high fat bird formula to the regular. I did buy the high fat one time, just actually because that's all they had, and she had lost weight, so I thought it wouldn't be a problem. But any pointers that anybody might have, I would appreciate your feedback, because I really don't want to be doing this from now on. And if anybody else has had the same experience with a bird that maybe they hand fed for too long for whatever reason, or have had a bird that has been taken from its parents too soon for whatever reason, any kind of suggestions or tips, I would be really appreciative of. And Minky, say good night. And yeah, she doesn't really do that. But thank you so much for watching.